I never thought I'd be the guy posting here. My wife, 32F, and I, 34M, have been married for 6 years, together for almost 10. From the outside, we looked solid. Decent jobs, small house in a quiet neighborhood, inside jokes, shared Spotify playlists, the whole cliché starter pack marriage. People used to tell us we work goals. I used to believe that. If I'm being honest, though, things started feeling off about a year ago. It wasn't dramatic at first. Just little things. She got sharper with me. More impatient. The kind of tone that makes you feel like you're constantly screwing up, even when you're just asking what she wants for dinner. She'd roll her eyes more. Sigh louder. If I questioned anything, she'd snap back with, "Why are you always interrogating me, even if I was just asking about her day?" She also started lying about small stuff. And I mean stupid, pointless lies. Saying she was at her sister's when I'd later find out she'd been out with coworkers. Claiming she hadn't ordered anything online when packages were literally stacked by the door. If I brought it up, she'd double down. "You must have misunderstood. You're imagining things." I started second-guessing myself more than I'd like to admit. I remember one night in particular. She came home late, like 1 a.m. late, and said she lost track of time at a team dinner. I said okay, but something in her body language felt rehearsed. Too casual. Too smooth. She smelled different. Not like perfume exactly. Just, not like her. When I hugged her, she stiffened. Just slightly. But enough. I told myself I was being paranoid. We weren't fighting constantly. We still had good days. We still watched shows together. We still laughed sometimes. But there was this invisible wall that hadn't been there before. She guarded her phone more. Started taking calls in the other room. Changed her passcode. Said it was, just for security. And every time I felt that pit in my stomach, she'd make me feel ridiculous for even thinking something was wrong. "You're insecure lately. You need to work on your trust issues. Not everything is about you." The thing is, I trusted her. Completely. Or I thought I did. Looking back, the signs were there. Not huge red flags. More like tiny paper cuts that didn't seem serious until I realized I was bleeding out slowly. I didn't know it yet, but everything was about to explode in a way I never saw coming. So here's where things started getting harder to ignore. About 3 months after that team dinner phase started, she suddenly got very into the gym. And before anyone jumps on me, I'm not saying working out equals cheating. I work out too. That's not the point. The point is the timing. She had never cared about fitness beyond casual yoga videos at home. Then out of nowhere, she signs up for this expensive boutique gym across town. New leggings. New sports bras. Protein powder. She'd make a whole show of measuring out like she was auditioning for a fitness ad. And she didn't invite me once. When I joked about joining her, she shot back with, "It's kind of my thing. I need something that's just mine." The tone wasn't playful. It was territorial. Then came the phone changes. She used to leave her phone face up on the counter. Suddenly it was always face down. Notifications muted. Screen angled away from me like I was some kind of spy. If I walked behind her while she was texting, she'd subtly tilt the screen. Not dramatic, just enough to notice. The first time I called it out, she snapped. "Are you seriously monitoring how I hold my phone now?" I backed off. I didn't want to be that husband. The suspicious, insecure one. But then one random Tuesday, something small happened that cracked the whole illusion. She was in the shower. Her phone was on the nightstand. It lit up. I swear to God I wasn't planning to look. I wasn't digging. It was just there. The notification preview showed a name I didn't recognize. Just a first name, Ryan. And the message preview? Last night was worth the wait. My stomach dropped so fast I felt dizzy. I didn't open it. I didn't scroll. I just stared at the lock screen like it might rearrange itself into something innocent. Maybe it was a coworker joking. Maybe it was about a project. Maybe I was overreacting. Then another message came in. Can't stop thinking about your dress on my floor. That was it. It felt like someone punched through my ribcage and squeezed my lungs. My ears were ringing. I could hear the shower running. I could hear her humming. And I was standing there holding proof that my entire reality wasn't what I thought it was. The worst part? I still wasn't 100% sure. Because I knew her. And she was so good at explaining things away. So good at making me feel crazy. And for about 30 seconds, I genuinely wondered if I was about to confront her over something I'd misunderstood. That's how twisted my head already was. I put the phone back exactly where it was. And I waited for her to come out of the shower. I didn't know yet that the night was about to spiral into something way bigger than just a suspicious text. I wish I could say I stormed into the bathroom and demanded answers. I didn't. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, rehearsing calm sentences in my head while my heart was beating so hard it felt visible. She came out of the shower wrapped in a towel, steam following her, acting completely normal. She smiled at me. "Why do you look weird?" she asked. That word. Weird. Like I was the unstable variable in the room. I kept my voice steady. I even surprised myself. "Who's Ryan?" She didn't flinch. That's the part that still messes with me. She paused for maybe half a second, then started blow-drying her hair like I'd asked her what she wanted for breakfast. "Ryan from work." "Why?" I said, "He texted you." She rolled her eyes immediately. "Okay. And?" I swallowed. It didn't look like a work text. She turned off the dryer slowly and looked at me like I had personally offended her ancestors. "Did you go through my phone?" There it was. Deflection. Immediate offense. No confusion. "No, what are you talking about?" "Just attack." I didn't go through it. It lit up. I saw the notification. She laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh my God. You saw one out-of-context message and now you're spiraling." I said nothing. I just watched her. She grabbed her phone, unlocked it, scrolled for 2 seconds, then held it up in front of me. The message thread was, normal. Work stuff. Memes about office drama. A random joke about their manager. No flirty messages. Nothing about dresses. Nothing about floors. She tilted her head. "See? This is what I mean. You jump to conclusions." My brain couldn't process it. I know what I saw. I can replay the words in my head perfectly. "Can't stop thinking about your dress on my floor." But it wasn't there. I felt my confidence crack right down the middle. "Maybe it was deleted," I said quietly. Her expression hardened instantly. "You think I'm cheating on you?" The way she said it, cold, offended, sharp, made me feel like the worst person alive. "Wow," she continued. "So now I'm a liar and a cheater because you're insecure." And just like that, the narrative flipped. I was defending myself. "I'm not saying that. You just what? Don't trust me?" After 10 years. She grabbed her clothes and left the bedroom. Slammed the door. And I sat there, staring at the place on the nightstand where her phone had been, questioning my own memory. That's when something new settled in my chest. Not just suspicion. Fear. Because either I imagined something very specific, or she had deleted those messages in the 20 seconds between me seeing them and asking about it. And if she could lie that smoothly. What else was I missing? After that night, things got weirdly calm. Too calm. She acted like nothing had happened. Made coffee in the morning. Kissed me goodbye before work. Texted me during the day like usual, don't forget we need milk. Can you pick up the dry cleaning? Like we hadn't just had a near explosion the night before. Meanwhile, I was unraveling quietly. I kept replaying the moment in my head. The notification. The exact phrasing. The timing. The second message. I wasn't half asleep. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't misreading. But the evidence was gone. And that's when the doubt started eating at me. Maybe I did misunderstand. Maybe it was from another app. Maybe it was some kind of glitch. Maybe my brain filled in details. That's how twisted it got. She leaned into it too. Not aggressively, strategically. If I got quiet, she'd say, "You're still on that, aren't you?" If I hesitated before answering something, she'd sigh, "You really need to work on your paranoia." Paranoia. That word stuck. At one point she even said, "I'm honestly worried about you. This isn't healthy." I started apologizing. That's the part that makes me feel pathetic now. I apologized for doubting her. She accepted it like she was doing me a favor. But here's the thing, even while I was questioning myself, the behavioral changes didn't stop. If anything, they escalated. She started going to the gym later at night. "It's less crowded," she said. She'd leave at 8:30 p.m. and come back close to 11. Sometimes flushed. Sometimes distant. Sometimes overly affectionate, which somehow felt worse. Her phone was basically glued to her hand. She started sleeping with it under her pillow. Under her pillow. When I joked about it, she snapped, "It's called privacy." And then came the first truly random moment that shook me. One Saturday afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. Silence at first. Then a guy's voice. "Hey, is this her husband?" My blood ran cold. "Yes," I said. There was a pause. Like he was reconsidering everything. Then he said, "I think you deserve to know something." And the line cut out. Just like that. I tried calling back. Straight to voicemail. I stood in the kitchen holding my phone, heart racing, staring at the door like she might walk in at any second with an explanation. She wasn't even home. She was at the gym. I called the number again. Voicemail. No name on the greeting. Just a generic automated voice. I texted. "You just called me. Who is this?" No response. I stood there in the kitchen for maybe 5 minutes, staring at my phone like it might confess something. My hands were shaking. Not dramatic movie shaking. Just that subtle tremor when adrenaline hits and you're trying to act normal. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I answered immediately. This time he didn't hesitate. "Listen," he said, voice low, controlled. "I'm not trying to start drama. I just found out my girlfriend's been seeing someone. And I'm pretty sure it's your wife." The words didn't even register at first. "What?" I asked, but it came out more like air than sound. He said her name. Full name. Then he said, "Ryan." My stomach flipped. I leaned against the counter because I genuinely thought I might fall over. He kept talking. Apparently his girlfriend had been acting distant for months. Secretive. Defensive. He checked her iPad while she was in the shower. Found messages. Pictures. Plans. Plans. "Your wife told her you two were basically separated," he said. That you were controlling. That she was miserable. I felt heat flood my face. That was new. That was a twist I hadn't even imagined. I'm not controlling, I said automatically. I don't even know why that's what I focused on. I don't know you, he replied. I'm just telling you what she's saying. He sent screenshots. Actual screenshots. My phone started lighting up with images. There she was. My wife. Messages under Ryan's name this time, not deleted. Flirty. Explicit. Talking about meeting after fake gym nights. Laughing about how easy it was to handle me when I got suspicious. One message hit like a truck. He saw a notification once. I deleted it and flipped it on him. He apologized. It's almost sad. I stopped breathing. I read it 3 times. He apologized. She wasn't just cheating. She was manipulating me. On purpose. Strategically. And then the most random, brutal detail. There was a picture of her in that red dress she wore to her team dinner. Timestamped at 12:47 a.m. Not at a restaurant. In what looked very much like a bedroom that was not ours. The guy on the phone went quiet. You okay? He asked. I couldn't answer. Because in that moment, everything rearranged itself. Every weird interaction. Every eye roll. Every accusation of paranoia. I wasn't crazy. She was just better at lying than I ever imagined. And she was at the gym. Right now. Or at least, that's what she told me. I didn't even remember grabbing my keys. 1 second I was in the kitchen staring at screenshots that made my chest feel hollow, and the next I was in my car. The guy, Ryan's girlfriend, stayed on the line for a minute longer. We exchanged names. He sounded wrecked too. Not angry. Just tired. Like someone who'd already cried it out and was now running on fumes. They usually meet Tuesdays and Saturdays, he said. She tells me she's working late or at the gym. It was Saturday. It was 9:12 p.m. She had left at 8:30. The gym was 15 minutes away. But something in me already knew I wasn't driving there. One of the screenshots showed a partial address. A street name. I zoomed in while stopped at a red light. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. It wasn't near the gym. It was across town. I don't know why I went. Part of me hoped I'd get there and feel stupid. That maybe the address was old. Maybe I misunderstood something again. But deep down, I think I just needed reality to slap me in the face. The house wasn't fancy. Just a normal townhouse in a quiet complex. Lights on inside. One car in the driveway. I parked half a block away like some cliché detective in a bad movie. And then I saw her car. Not at the gym. Not anywhere near it. Right there. My wife's car. In front of a house that wasn't ours. It's weird what your brain focuses on in moments like that. I remember noticing a crack in her rear bumper that we'd argued about fixing. I remember thinking, she complained about gas prices this morning. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes. Maybe 20. Time didn't feel real. Then the front door opened. And there she was. Laughing. Actually laughing. She stepped out wearing the red dress. The same one from the screenshot. A guy followed her out. Taller than me. Gym built. Casual. Comfortable. He touched her lower back like it was the most natural thing in the world. She didn't pull away. She leaned into him. And then they kissed. Not a quick goodbye peck. A slow, familiar kiss. The kind you don't fake. I didn't feel explosive rage like I thought I would. I felt cold. Like something inside me shut down to protect what was left. She got in her car still smiling. And I realized something terrifying. If I hadn't seen those screenshots. If that guy hadn't called. I would have been home right now, probably apologizing again for not trusting her. And she would have walked in smelling like someone else and kissed me hello. I waited until she drove off. Then I started my car. And I followed her home. Following her home was surreal. She drove like nothing had happened. Like she'd just finished a normal workout. Even stopped at a gas station for a drink. I watched her from across the lot, sitting in my car like some stranger observing his own life. She checked her reflection in the mirror before getting back in the car. Smoothed her hair. Smiled at herself. That smile broke something in me more than the kiss did. By the time we got home, I was parked down the street again. I let her pull into the driveway first. Watched her sit in the car for a few seconds, probably texting him. Then she walked inside. I waited about a minute before going in. She was in the kitchen when I stepped through the door. Lights on. Music playing softly. She'd changed into sweatpants already. Her gym bag casually tossed by the couch. She looked up. "Oh, hey. I thought you were working late." Her voice was normal. Warm, even. That level of composure felt almost inhuman. "Traffic," I said. She nodded like that made perfect sense. "How was the gym?" I don't know why I asked it like that. Maybe I wanted to give her one last chance to tell the truth. "It was good," she said instantly. "Leg day." "I'm dead." She laughed a little. Dramatic stretch for effect. "Leg day." I stared at her legs. They were smooth. Freshly shaved. Not exactly, just did heavy squats energy. "You sure?" I asked quietly. She paused for half a second. What's that supposed to mean? There it was. The edge. The switch flipping. "I just mean," I said, stepping closer, "you weren't at the gym." Her expression hardened immediately. "Are you serious right now?" "I saw your car," I said. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me. At a townhouse across town. Silence. Not confusion. Not shock. Just calculation. "You followed me?" she asked, tone icy. I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled out my phone and opened one of the screenshots Ryan's girlfriend sent. I held it up. Her face changed. Not dramatically. Just a microsecond of panic. Then it was gone. "This is fake," she said flatly. My chest tightened. "You're going to say it's fake?" I asked. "Yes," she snapped. "This is insane. You're teaming up with random people now." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I watched you kiss him." That landed. Her jaw tightened. For the first time all night, she didn't have an immediate response. And that's when I realized this wasn't going to be a denial game anymore. This was about to get ugly. The silence stretched longer than anything we'd said. She crossed her arms. "You don't know what you saw." That was her first move. I just stared at her. "I saw you kiss him," I repeated. Calm. Measured. Like I was describing the weather. She shook her head. "It wasn't like that." "Okay," I said. "Then what was it like?" Another pause. The gears were turning. I could practically see it, her assembling the version of reality she wanted to sell. "It was stupid," she said finally. It meant nothing. That sentence. It meant nothing. Like that was supposed to comfort me. "So you admit it," I said. She exhaled sharply. "I admit I made a mistake." A mistake. I felt something snap, not loud, not explosive. Just a clean internal break. A mistake is forgetting to lock the door, I said. This was months. This was lies. This was calling me paranoid while you were sleeping with him. Her face hardened again. You've been distant for a year, she shot back. You're always stressed. Always in your head. I felt alone. There it was. Blame transfer. I actually nodded slowly. So you cheated. You pushed me away, she said, louder now. You don't listen. You don't see me. I felt heat rising in my chest, but my voice stayed steady. You told him we were basically separated. She didn't answer. You told him I was controlling. Still nothing. That I was miserable to live with. Her eyes flicked away. And that silence told me more than any confession. She wasn't crying. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't breaking down. She was annoyed. Annoyed that she got caught. Then she said something that I don't think I'll ever forget. You weren't supposed to find out like this. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I messed up. Just, logistics. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. How were you planning to end it? I asked. Or were you? She hesitated. And that hesitation answered everything. I didn't know yet, she said quietly. I was figuring it out. Figuring it out. While coming home to me every night. While letting me doubt my own sanity. While making me apologize. I felt the anger fade into something worse. Clarity. You deleted the messages that night, I said. She didn't deny it. You flipped it on me on purpose. Her lips pressed into a thin line. You were overreacting, she muttered. That's when the mask fully slipped. Not remorse. Not guilt. Just justification. And I realized something that hurt more than the cheating itself. She didn't think she was the villain here. She thought she was the misunderstood one. And I was just collateral damage. At some point during the back and forth, I realized something important. She wasn't fighting to fix this. She was fighting to win. Every sentence out of her mouth was either deflection, blame, or damage control. You weren't emotionally available. You stopped trying. You think you're perfect. You invaded my privacy. It was like she had a checklist of counterattacks ready. And weirdly, that's when I got calm. Not numb. Not dissociated. Just done. You know what? I said quietly. She paused mid-sentence. I don't care whose fault you think this is. That caught her off guard. You cheated, I continued. 4 months. You lied. You made me question my sanity. That's the part one can't get past. For the first time that night, her confidence flickered. You're acting like I murdered someone, she said, but there was less bite to it. I shook my head. No. I'm acting like the person I trusted most in my life built a second relationship behind my back and then called me paranoid when I noticed. Silence. She looked at me like she wanted to say something sharp, something cutting. But she didn't. Instead, she switched tactics. Tears. Not dramatic sobbing. Just controlled, strategic tears. The kind she knew I had a hard time ignoring. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she said softly. It just happened. It just happened. As if affairs are weather events. I almost laughed. Did the lies just happen too? I asked. Did deleting messages just happen? Did telling him I was controlling just happen? She wiped at her eyes, frustrated. You're not innocent in this, she said again. And maybe I wasn't perfect. Maybe I was stressed. Maybe I wasn't as attentive as I could have been. But none of that equals betrayal. That's when another random twist hit. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Ryan's girlfriend. He just told her, you know. She's blowing up his phone. I looked at my wife. Her phone, face down on the counter, started vibrating. Once. Twice. 3 times in a row. She glanced at it instinctively. And that tiny, automatic reaction told me everything about where her priorities still were. Not me. Not us. Him. I picked up her phone before she could. She lunged for it. Give me that. But I'd already seen the screen. Ryan calling. Over and over. I looked at her. And in that moment, the last fragile piece of hope I didn't even know I was holding onto finally broke. She wasn't scared of losing me. She was scared of losing him. She tried to grab the phone from my hand, but I stepped back. Answer it, I said. No, she snapped. Give it to me. Put it on speaker. Her eyes widened. You're being insane. The phone kept vibrating between us like some cruel metronome counting down the end of my marriage. I answered it. I didn't even think. I just swiped. Hello. I said. There was a pause. Then a sharp inhale on the other end. This isn't her, Ryan said. No, I replied calmly. It's her husband. Dead silence. Then, Save it, I cut him off. My voice was steady in a way that surprised even me. You knew she was married. She told me you were separated. I laughed, not loud, just hollow. She told me she was at the gym. Behind me, my wife hissed, hang up. Don't do this. Ryan sounded shaken now. She said you were controlling. That it was basically over. Yeah, I said. She says a lot of things. I hung up. The room felt heavier than before. She stared at me like I'd crossed some unforgivable line. You had no right, she said. No right. That phrase hit harder than I expected. No right? I repeated. You've been in another man's bed for months and I have no right. She ran a hand through her hair, pacing now. You just humiliated me. Humiliated her. I felt something inside me twist. You humiliated me, I said quietly. Every time you came home and kissed me. Every time you called me paranoid. Every time I apologized. She stopped pacing. For a second, just one, her expression softened. Like reality was finally catching up. But then came the next twist. I don't know if I'm in love with you anymore, she said. Just like that. No build-up. No cushion. I stared at her. You don't know. She shook her head, tears in her eyes again. I've been unhappy for a long time. That sentence was worse than the cheating. Because it rewrote our entire history. Our vacations. Our anniversaries. The nights we stayed up talking about kids someday. Were those fake too? Or just convenient? When were you going to tell me? I asked. She didn't answer. Because she wasn't going to. She was going to keep both lives running as long as she could manage it. And if I hadn't caught her, I think she would have kept choosing the version of reality that benefited her most. I sat down at the kitchen table because my legs felt weak. And for the first time since this started, the anger faded. What replaced it was grief. Not just for the affair. But for the version of my wife I thought I had. Because that woman, the one I trusted completely, didn't exist anymore. Or maybe she never did. I spent the next few days in a fog. I went to work, but it felt like I was watching everything through someone else's eyes. Typing emails felt absurd. Talking to coworkers felt absurd. Even my own reflection in the bathroom mirror felt absurd. I couldn't sleep. Or maybe I slept too much. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped, expecting another lie, another message, another reminder that my life was no longer mine. Friends noticed I was off. "Everything okay at home?" they asked. I lied. Told them stress, work, minor stuff. Couldn't tell anyone the truth without breaking down. The humiliation was still raw. I kept thinking about her face that night, the way she had explained nothing, the way she had cried just enough to manipulate me, the way she had admitted she might not love me anymore as if it was a casual fact. I remember one evening, staring at our old photo albums. Vacations, birthdays, lazy Sundays. I could see her smile in the pictures, and for a moment, I almost believed it was real. Almost. Then I remembered the screenshots, the townhouse, the red dress. And the pit in my stomach returned, deeper this time. Anger came in waves, sharp, stabbing bursts when I thought of the betrayal. Sadness followed, heavier than anything I'd ever felt. And then there was this hollow numbness, where I just couldn't react at all because the idea that someone I loved this much could be so calculated, it didn't fit anywhere in my emotional system. I found myself replaying conversations from the past year. Every argument. Every eye roll. Every time she called me paranoid. Every lie. I saw now that the small lies weren't small at all. They were rehearsals for the bigger ones. Every little lie was a test of how far she could push me. And the most gut-wrenching realization, I had trusted her. Fully. And that trust wasn't just broken, it was weaponized against me. By the end of that week, I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't keep living in a world where I second-guessed everything I felt, everything I saw, everything I remembered. The grief was suffocating, but the clarity underneath it was undeniable. I couldn't stay in this marriage unless massive, real change happened. And I didn't know if she was capable of that. It was the first time in weeks I felt a shred of something beyond grief. Something like resolve. But resolve alone doesn't make decisions any easier. I still had to decide what to do next. After a few sleepless nights and more staring at that red dress in my head than I cared to admit, I realized I had to act. Not out of anger. Not even for revenge. But because I needed my life back. My sanity back. I considered everything. Trying to forgive her and rebuild. Could I really trust her again? Every laugh, every casual touch would be a reminder of months of manipulation. Could I live that way? Confronting her and making her pick, me or him. But deep down, I knew she'd pick whichever life was easier, or whichever offered her the most attention. Walking away quietly. Cutting the cord and reclaiming my peace, even if it hurt like hell. I knew what I couldn't do, pretend nothing happened. That version of life was gone. And I also knew I couldn't stay in a marriage where I was manipulated, gaslit, and treated as disposable. So I made the call. Not to her. Not to Ryan. To myself. I would leave. The actual conversation with her was brutal, but short. I laid it all out, every lie, every screenshot, every stolen moment. I watched her reaction. Shock, denial, excuses, a hint of anger that she got caught, and that same chilling calculation in her eyes. I can't do this anymore, I said. I don't want to live in a house where I can't trust the person I married. You made your choice. I'm making mine. She didn't beg. Didn't cry in the way I hoped. She just stared. And then, almost casually, said. Fine. If that's what you want. No remorse. No acknowledgement. Just, fine. I packed my things over the next couple of days, trying not to think about how surreal it felt to remove myself from my own marriage. The night I left, I didn't look back. I drove away and let the city lights blur past, thinking about all the little lies, the little paper cuts over the year that added up to a wound I couldn't heal. I was angry, yes. But underneath that, there was something heavier, relief. Relief that I was finally choosing myself. And something else, Fear. Fear of starting over. Fear of trusting again. Fear of how much my heart had been used as collateral. But mostly, I felt free. For the first time in months, I could breathe without constantly questioning every word, every glance, every "I love you." Because I finally knew the truth. And the truth, as painful as it was, set me free. The first few weeks after moving out were like living in a vacuum. My apartment felt empty, my mind felt empty, and my stomach constantly churned like I was on some kind of emotional roller coaster that had no brakes. I didn't answer calls from her. Didn't reply to messages. Even social media felt toxic, so I went dark there too. I needed space, a literal and emotional buffer, to stop the constant loop of doubt and replaying betrayals. Friends checked in. Some wanted details. Some offered distractions. I mostly avoided deep conversations because every retelling cut me open again. But having a few solid people around reminded me that not everyone was manipulative, that not everyone would treat me like collateral. That was a small lifeline. I started journaling. At first, just to vent. Then, slowly, to make sense of what happened. Writing down every feeling, the rage, the grief, the humiliation, the shock, let me see patterns. I realized how the gaslighting had worked on me, how I'd questioned my own memory, how the small lies had been rehearsals for the bigger ones. Seeing it on paper made it real, not something foggy in my head that I doubted. Therapy helped too. I didn't realize how much I had internalized blame. How I kept thinking, I should have seen it coming. I should have done more. Talking to someone neutral helped me untangle the layers of guilt, grief, and betrayal. There were random triggers everywhere. A perfume smell, a song on Spotify, a reference to our old neighborhood. Some days, I'd break down for an hour and then get up and function like nothing happened. It was exhausting. But gradually, the intensity dulled. The memories were still there, but they started losing the power to make me feel trapped in that spiral. I learned to set boundaries. Not just physical, I blocked numbers, deleted chats, and limited social media exposure. But also emotional boundaries. I stopped replaying every interaction in my head. I stopped analyzing her tone or her intent. I gave myself permission to stop caring what she thought of me. Most importantly, I started rebuilding trust, in myself. Trusting my perception. Trusting my judgment. Trusting that my feelings were valid. That wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Some nights, I still feel the pang of betrayal. But those nights are shorter now, less sharp. And every morning I wake up feeling slightly more like myself than I did the day before. It's a slow process. But it's mine. And that counts for something. I've been through a lot in these past months, more than I ever expected to endure in a marriage. And through all of it, I've learned some painful but important lessons. 1. Trust your instincts. Even when someone gaslights you, that gut feeling doesn't just appear out of nowhere. I questioned myself constantly because she was so convincing, but deep down I knew something was wrong. That intuition is powerful, don't ignore it. 2. Small lies matter. The little things, changing passwords, weird excuses, inconsistent stories, they're not harmless. They're indicators of patterns that can lead to much larger betrayals. 3. You can grieve someone and still leave. I loved her. I trusted her. And I left. It's confusing, painful, and messy. But leaving didn't mean I stopped valuing myself. It meant I finally valued me more than the illusion of a marriage. 4. Gaslighting is cruel and real. It's exhausting to have your memory, feelings, and perceptions manipulated. Don't let anyone make you doubt the reality you know. You're allowed to trust your own mind. 5. Support is essential. Friends, therapy, journaling, I leaned on everything I could. No one should go through this alone, and there's no shame in needing help to process the trauma. 6. Boundaries are life-saving. Emotional, physical, digital, they're all important. Protect yourself first. If someone consistently breaks trust, you don't owe them the chance to continue. I still think about her. I still have bad days. But I've rebuilt a sense of self that wasn't possible while living under the shadow of her lies and betrayal. To anyone going through something similar, trust yourself, seek support, and don't settle for crumbs of honesty. You deserve clarity, respect, and truth, even if it's painful to face. Because in the end, walking away wasn't just leaving her. It was reclaiming my life. Okay, so here's me, finally typing this out like a human-shaped wreck, because I feel like maybe sharing it will help someone else not spiral the way I did. I lost a version of my wife I thought was real. Maybe she never existed. Maybe that version was just my imagination, fueled by love and trust. That part still hurts. But here's the thing I've realized, the version of me I thought I was, naive, forgiving, always trusting, had to change. And that's not a bad thing. It's survival. Cheating is brutal. Lies are brutal. Gaslighting is brutal. But the emotional betrayal, the calculated manipulation, that's what cuts the deepest. That's what makes you question your own mind, your own worth. And it takes time to climb out of that pit. Here's what I'd tell someone who's in the thick of it. Listen to your gut. That uneasy feeling isn't paranoia, it's your intuition screaming at you. Don't silence it. Document the signs. Screenshots, notes, whatever. It might save your sanity later. Prioritize yourself. You don't have to be a martyr or understand someone who betrays you. Your emotional health comes first. Seek help. Friends, family, therapy, don't isolate yourself. Betrayal messes with your perception, outside support is grounding. It's okay to walk away. Staying doesn't prove love. Walking away can prove self-respect. I won't sugarcoat it, leaving was excruciating. The memories, the what-ifs, the anger, it's all still there. But I finally feel like I'm reclaiming space in my own head. I'm learning to trust again. I'm learning that love doesn't have to feel like constant questioning or fear. Most importantly, I've learned that sometimes, the most courageous thing you can do isn't fixing someone else. It's fixing yourself by stepping out of a life that's slowly killing your trust and sense of reality. So yeah. That's my story. Messy, painful, ugly, but mine. And for anyone reading this who's going through the same nightmare, you're not crazy. You're not overreacting. And you do deserve better than betrayal disguised as love. Because the truth. Freedom is painful at first. But it's so worth it.